So, hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT no government license, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1969. Which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to, inciting, or producing imminent loss action, and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical. This is episode 197?
I believe so.
197.
Just, you know what? Even if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, you just baffle them with bullshit. So we'll just be confident about it and just pretend that we know exactly what we're doing.
Confuse them with confidence. Yes. Confuse them with confidence. Fuck you very much, Jack. No, we're fine. We're just sitting here talking about you.
Yeah.
We didn't want to start. We didn't want to start until we were done talking shit about you. That's all.
Yeah. Figured you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that to go out on the air. So.
Andrew.
What? Nice. This is fun.
This is fine. Everything's fine. New PVC patch. High quality too. I don't remember where I got it. I think off Amazon, but I don't remember the company. But yeah. That was my whole introduction. I have nothing else now.
And then
it crashed.
Already we've crashed and burned.
It's
pretty par for the course, really.
It's not only par for the course, but like it's been a long weekend. I know it's Sunday evening, but it's been a long weekend. It was like a 2.5 hour drive to my baby brother's wedding, and then it was like, you know how weddings go, right? Like standing around for 15 minutes, 5-minute ceremony, stand around for 15 minutes, eat, which takes about an hour and a half of just sitting around talking, and then leave, and then 2.5 hour drive back.
You gotta deal with the marriage. Marriage is what brings us together.
Yeah. Yes. Highway 680 here in California. Like, if you know it, like, you know how bad it is. Like, it was pretty bad. Hollister was nice though, but we didn't get shot going through San Jose, thank God. But yeah, Jack Curtis.
Dave in the chat, he's complaining that the patch you have is not his.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dave. But I mean, you're not on Amazon, bro. I'm sorry. And Jack said he's embarking on a 22-hour drive tomorrow. Yeah, he's going down to Southern Florida. Go help out father-in-law, I think is what it is.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah, down there on Pine Island, down near Fort Myers.
Yeah, speaking of Florida, did you see that Babcock Ranch in Florida, which is a housing community that was built specifically, the part of the requirements of the HOA are that you have to be on solar panels. You can't be, there's no central electrical grid in it at all. Mm-hmm. It's all solar panel. And the houses have to be built to a certain hurricane-proof standard. In the wake of Ian, they basically just had to clear their roads of debris.
Cool.
They were just like, fine, because they still had power because they were off-grid. Uh-huh. And the houses were actually built, within a predictable, guaranteed fucking natural disaster that is going to happen in mind. It's funny how that being prepared for that shit actually works out well, huh?
You mean like the people here in California that, clear the trees around their property and clear vegetation and actually like rake up the pine needles that fall on the floor? What?
Yeah, it's almost
crazy.
Like preparing for an inevitable natural disaster helps keep you safe from it, huh?
Yeah.
Or people who know not to build in the floodplain along the Mississippi.
Dave says, "I wonder why they won't let me on Amazon." we know why, Dave. It's the same reason that Facebook removed my profile today. or a couple days ago.
Yeah, same reason.
Oh.
Or no, Dave's still on Etsy, I think, but I think that one patch
I
is
don't
no
think that I don't think
longer.
that patch is even on his website anymore either.
Oh, I think I still have one, a
Mhm.
spare one. Maybe we should
You
do a
can't you
giveaway
can't
for
say
that.
that you can't say that word in like the first 10 minutes though.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say the word, but it's the
Yeah.
shark one that you may be
Yeah.
familiar with. I think I still have
Yeah.
a spare one.
Somebody needs to redo that song.
do
You
do
know what
do.
I'm talking about.
I actually don't know. I think I've heard it, but I think every time I've heard it, it's only been in passing. So thankfully, it's not in my head at all. But
But yeah. Did you do anything fun this week? Did the Packers win?
no,
No, again? They lost again.
they blew a 10-point lead at the half to lose by 5, which is a weird number.
That's
Yep, they
my
lost
Niners
by
won.
5.
My Niners won,
Uh,
and they now are tied with the number one defense in the league with Buffalo, who's 4-1. Yeah, how the Niners have the number one defense, I have no idea.
what?
Exactly.
How
Yeah.
bad are the rest of them?
Dave says it's still on his website, but it's listed as a tropical fish. He said he sold a few of them this weekend. Nice. I'm glad people are still buying that particular product.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have one.
You got to get one, man.
Yeah,
they glow in the dark.
There's a lot of things I need to get.
Yeah. They're Hawaiian. They glow in the dark. It's fun.
Do I have any glow in the dark patches? I have one glow in the dark patches, and it's a snowflake one.
Yeah. I so hilariously, I wore my that's my Aspro stop patch to the local vape shop, and as I was standing there with that on my hat, a dude with an actual Bass Pro Shop hat walked in. I like did a double take, and I'm just like, what's up?
Yeah, it says what you think it says, bro.
Yeah, it does say what you think it says.
Oh.
Oh, like that one meme with the Green Goblin or whatever from Spider-Man with the when you're at the orgy and your friend comes up behind you. No, Peter, no, stop, it's me.
What comic books are you reading, bro?
Oh man, there is actually hilarious. So the guy that runs the vape shop is a friend of mine. He actually told me a hilarious story. Apparently, some lady bought a product that they told her she probably wasn't going to like as much as this other product that was only $3 more. Blah blah blah. Well, it turns out she doesn't like it that much, like they told her. Tries to bring it back. They're like, fine, we'll do an exchange for another one because you think this one's broken, but I'm telling you it's not broken. Blah blah blah. She keeps arguing. They issue her a refund and go, here's a receipt that shows the refund because you bought it less than 24 hours ago. The bank may reject the refund, assuming that it's an issue on our end. And so you're going to want the receipt so that you can verify to them that it is supposed to be a refund, whatever. She refuses to take the paper. Comes in 2 days later, all ticked off because lo and behold, the bank rejected the refund and she'd refused to take the receipt. It's a piece of paper. I don't know why you refused to take it. But so she comes back complaining. Well, at the end, after they get they fix it, they redo the refund, everything else. But at the end of the phone conversation, because it's at a different location than where he's at, Ethan loves to like just be like, "Love you, man." I mean, granted, he'll make some pretty gay jokes, but it's so. But he's like, "Love you, bro," and he's like, "Yeah, I love you too, bro." And then they hang up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this lady goes on to Google to leave them a nasty review and says that like she's like the manager who I'm pretty sure is sleeping with this store's manager and who's also a guy, by the way. And like just like this super homophobic complaint. And like it has nothing to do with any of the issue, anything else. And he laughed it. He was like, man, I responded and I like called her out. Like, we tried to prevent this several times and you didn't want to listen. And by the way, and then just this huge, like, you're such a fucking homophobe. This is ridiculous. And we're not even gay, bro. Like, we just said, love you, man. And like, love you, bro. And then that was it. Like, if you are clearly extremely homophobic, lady, like,
Yes.
Jesus, if that. And he's like, I have never seen a review get deleted by its original poster so quickly.
Karen's gonna Karen.
Yep. Right up until the internet declares you homophobic. And if there's one place you do not want to be declared homophobic, it's the internet.
Or anti-Semitic.
Or anti-Semitic. Which is funny because, by the way, Ethan is a Jew. So.
Yep. You see how quickly they canceled Kanye when he said that?
What I didn't actually see what he said.
He went on Tucker Carlson and said a few things, but he also posted on Twitter and Instagram something about going DEFCON 3 on Jews. He dropped a J-bomb, going DEFCON 3 on Jews, and instantly, like off Instagram, off Twitter, had other accounts canceled. Just
I bet Adidas
ridiculous.
is very disappointed that he decided he didn't want to do business with them anymore right now. Oh my God. If there is anything that you are not allowed to frickin' say, dude. Like,
if you say that, like, especially if you're a celebrity and you say that sort of thing publicly, you're done. You're done.
Yeah, and and like, I can totally understand why you're gonna get canceled over that. Like, what? What kind of racist crap? Seriously? Like,
well, it was all in response because he wore the White Lives Matter, the shirt or sweater or whatever it was, and people lost their Evan Lovin' mind over that.
Oh yeah,
right. And yes, he was talking about them in the 90s. Yeah, and then he died of AIDS. No coincidence there, but yeah, because he wore the White Lives Matter shirt, right? And people completely disregarded why he did that. He explained on Tucker Carlson, and it's an absolutely viable reasoning. But then he came out and said this other stuff, and it's just like, nope, goodbye, cancel.
And no one is going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. No one is going to come anywhere near
not
you.
at this moment, no.
No one is coming anywhere near you. Plain and simple, like that's done, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you publicly say crap like that, and you're going to get destroyed. Like, that's going to happen. It's I mean, unless apparently you're a Democrat, in which case, yeah, totally cool. You can say anti-women things, you can say racist things, you can say anti-Semitic things, and everything's just cool. And like, you can get away with anything you want to say, apparently, as long as you're their guy.
Oh yeah, as long as you're their guy, it's fine. It's like, and we talked about this before about who owns the tech, right? They're like the red states and the conservatives, they largely own manufacturing. But when it comes to the technical side of things, when it comes to like social media and everything online, it's all leftists. So anything that offends the leftists, you're immediately risking like full cancellation or even deplatforming, becoming persona non grata online.
I've seen people get canceled for like expressing support for capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Shoehead.
Yeah, Shu, who is formerly like a hardcore lefty.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of started to come around to the realm of sanity in the past couple of years, but she's getting canceled left and right. Like, I've watched leftists complain about the fact that like there was, even back when I was still on Twitter, like me and Magnus were laughing with her about the fact that like this chick complained on a Reddit message board that she was trying to get her boyfriend into communism, and he started following Shu on Twitter and like, is this as problematic as I think it is? And like, blah, and we were laughing about it. Like, really?
Yeah, we're going to get into the PayPal thing, and there's also a Facebook thing, but yeah, that's like not towing the line, right? That's why my Facebook account was just deleted, right? Yeah. I mean, like, they didn't give me a reason, and they don't really have to give you a reason. What are you going to do? You're going to take Facebook to court? Yeah, that's you're going to win that one for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, that's the same way that my Facebook got deleted a couple of years ago. Yeah, my Twitter got nuked. I mean, a whole bunch of our Twitters got nuked. I still call it the night of the silent birds. I love that meme. I had so many people
everywhere.
Well, when I posted it, because it's got the swastika and the Twitter bird on it, so many people are like, "Are you supporting white supremacy?" Okay, so you clearly don't read German. Let me explain to you what this says and what the idea is, because you're clearly also ignorant of history. Yeah, it's Boring Sandwich talking about the unpersoning. Magnus is a perfect example of unpersoning, right? Like Magnus can't have even.
He can now since he stopped all that stuff. Yeah, since he stopped all that stuff, he's back on Twitter and all this other stuff. But he went they went full persona non grata with him. Like Google canceled his account. Everything that Google's connected to was canceled. Like he couldn't get PayPal, which is owned by eBay. Like he couldn't even like Uber Eats, things like that. He couldn't order a fucking sandwich.
Yeah, he couldn't get Grubhub, Eat Street, Uber Eats. He none of that. He couldn't even order food online. Like they had so completely unpersoned him that he couldn't do any of that stuff. Like he had trouble finding a job because of it.
Yeah. He tried to do delivery like DoorDash or whatever it was, and they took his application. They went and put an interview, and then they're like, okay, and then they never called him back. So Facebook for a decade. Yeah, I was my Facebook account that just got deleted was my original Facebook account from like 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? So I had one
13 years.
I had one since 2008. Like as soon as they opened it up to people with military emails instead of just college emails, I had set up a Facebook. Like I'd had Facebook that kind of long, and they just dropped mine a couple of years ago. They let me back on now, but and I'm sure we'll all be able to get back on Twitter shortly. But
well, it's been over a year, right? Since like you were kicked off like late September 2020, right? Like
it was right before the election. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what mine was. It's a month before the election.
Yep. So now they're doing it to you because they didn't get you last time.
Yep. Yeah, Magnus is doing a lot better.
Yeah, he's able to. He's able to
living girlfriend and all that good stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Is he still living with Britt? I don't know if he's
no.
No, he's not anymore. Okay.
No.
But
no, they have their own place. But they're good peoples. But we talked about PayPal and Facebook, so let's get into that.
Yeah, this ridiculousness.
Which one do you want to go to first?
Oh, I want to talk about PayPal.
Okay, so in that case, we're doing an update on a bistro in Michigan. Don't you hate when I do that?
Yeah, I gotta learn, man, every fucking time.
Okay, so this is Marlena's Bistro and Pizzeria. They're in Holland, Michigan. They're one of the ones that refused to close down during the coup. So a judge has declined to dismiss the case against a Holland restaurant owner who's jailed and fined $15,000 for failing to adhere to court orders to shutter her restaurant. Marlena Pavlos Hackney, owner of Marlena's Bistro and Pizzeria, recently asked Ingham County judge to dismiss the case against her and award her damages. But on Thursday, October 6th, Judge Wanda Stokes sided with the Michigan Department of Agricultural and Rural Development, which first filed the complaint in February 2021. Pavlos Hackney came on the MDARD's radar in late 2020 when reports surfaced that she was failing to enforce the statewide pandemic restrictions, including social distancing and mask wearing.
MDARD.
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 MDARD, yeah. Michigan Department of Agricultural and Rural Development. Her food license was revoked in January 2021, but the restaurant remained open. Pavlos Hackney ignored a temporary restraining order meant to keep her from continuing operations and refused to allow inspectors or law enforcement into her restaurant. In response, Stokes, that's the judge, issued a bench warrant for her arrest. Shortly thereafter, she was arrested by Michigan State Police and spent 4 nights in the Ingham County Jail following the arraignment. She was released March 23rd after paying $15,000 contempt fine and shuttering her restaurant. In June 2021, she took her legal argument to the Michigan Court of Appeals, The action sought to reconsider contempt of court findings, release audio or video of her arraignment, and amend an, quote, inaccurate transcript. All motions were denied by the judge.
Yep, same judge denied
Yes.
all of her appeal motions.
Yes, the restaurant food license was restored in July, and Melina's Bistro was reopened in September. So, throughout 2022, the restaurant has been a stopping point for political candidates, including Republican gubernatorial candidate Tudor Dixon, who visited the restaurant recently, and former gubernatorial candidate Ryan Kelly, who currently faces charges for his involvement in the January 6th insurrection on the U.S. Capitol.
Insurrection. That is not how you do an insurrection.
Yes. So, but the case is still going through the courts. I think we talked about her arrest when it happened on the podcast.
Yeah,
I think we did. This is kind of an update. So, yeah, she lost the appeal. So, she still lost her $15,000, and all the time that she was closed too. So.
Yeah, gee, I can't imagine why anybody would hate the governor of Michigan significantly.
I know a group of guys.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just an article about that too that came out where with this new trial they're trying to demonstrate a link between the plot and the militia. And I'm like, militia? Are you kidding? It was a bunch of feds.
No, there's a bunch of, but the people that weren't feds were all like pot smokers living in a basement.
Yeah, and they were just like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that.
Yeah, man. We should totally do that.
You guys do that. I'm gonna stay here, and I'll be communications hub or something. But
won't you guys bring back some pizza?
Yeah. We got any Funyuns?
No. A judge dismisses the case over the FBI raid of the 1,400 private safe deposit boxes and seizure of millions in jewelry and cash. We talked about this.
Yeah, just like
a couple weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, I think we talked about this. Yeah, that they went into a bank and lied to the judge about
lied to the judge for the warrant and confiscated literally everything in the safe deposit boxes to search for crimes.
Yeah, forcing everybody to prove themselves innocent.
Yeah. So a judge ruled that the federal agents who raided the 1,400 safe deposit boxes in March 2020 at a private vault company did not violate search and seizure laws.
They lied to a judge, lied to a judge to get the warrant and simply confiscated everything in the boxes, regardless of whose stuff it was, without any crimes at all to tie it to.
Yes.
But it didn't violate.
Yes. A lawsuit filed in August alleges that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles obtained warrants against the U.S. private vaults company in Beverly Hills, California, by concealing critical details from the judge who approved them. In his ruling, District Court Judge R. Gary Klausner found no impropriety in the way of government got or executed the warrants for the raid. He dismissed the class action lawsuit on behalf of the people whose boxes had been seized.
No impropriety, and they admitted that they lied to the judge. I just want to make that super clear. That this judge found no impropriety in an instance where they lied to the judge.
Yes. The lawsuit was filed after FBI agents raided the Beverly Hills branch of the U.S. private vaults, seizing more than $86 million in cash, jewelry, and gold from 1,400 safe deposit boxes. It said owners' items still had not been returned, and that the agents misled the judge in the warrant. None of the people who own the boxes has been charged. After almost 5 years of investigation, various agencies concluded, quote, the problem was the business itself.
So none of them are even suspected of a crime at this point.
No.
But there was definitely no impropriety.
Definitely no impropriety, yeah. To seize $86 million worth of product.
You know who else operates that way? The fucking mob.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the mob would admit when it, sometimes admit when it's wrong, but they'll still do it.
The mob, you'd at least have recourse because you could, shoot them.
Nope. So, all right, you want to get into the PayPal thing?
Yeah, I want to talk about the PayPal thing.
Are you
'cause,
sure
like,
you want to get into the PayPal thing?
Yeah, I just spent like an hour talking to Lindsay about the whole PayPal thing and like what's going on and like why they felt that this was even remotely a okay thing. Now they haven't completely walked back on it.
No.
They've only partially walked back on it.
Okay, so we're gonna read the walkback article because the walkback article has information from the previous article. So PayPal pulls back, says it won't fine customers $2,500 for misinformation after backlash. So, and as I mentioned previously, PayPal is owned by eBay.
Well, I think they spun them off, didn't they?
It's a separate company, but still owned by eBay.
Is it still owned by them? Okay.
Yes.
Because I know because eBay originally, remember, PayPal was founded by Elon Musk, and he sold it to eBay for a ridiculous amount of money.
So PayPal has backtracked on a published policy that would have fined users $2,500 for spreading misinformation, claiming the update has gone out, quote, in air.
I'm sure.
Yes, an AUP notice recently went out in this quote. So this is from the spokesman, quote, an AUP notice recently went out in air that included incorrect information. PayPal is not fining people for information, and this language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. Our teams are working to correct our policy pages. We're sorry for the confusion this has caused.
Translation, we thought that because we live in an echo chamber in Southern California, we were under the impression that this would be totally cool.
San Jose.
And we were under the impression that this would be totally cool because we forgot that we are all, in fact, in a psychopath echo chamber, and this was clearly not okay, and oopsie doodles.
So here's the line. This is the line. This language was never intended to be inserted in our policy. Intended to be inserted, which means they had it, they were thinking about it, they were talking about doing it, but they didn't intend it to go out, which means that they probably sent the rough draft or the earlier draft of the updated policy. They posted the one previously written that they removed that language from.
Yeah, which means
the idea is still there.
Yeah, they were already thinking about it. They were already talking about it, number one. And number two, what it also means is that now that they've seen what public reaction is to it, they're going to be much sneakier in the way they insert that language in the future when they do decide to move forward with it.
Yes. The course reversal comes after the policy changes had started to attract media scrutiny as well as criticism on Twitter. Former PayPal president David Marcus even blasted the company over the implication that it could seize customers' money for finding their views objectionable. Quote, it's hard for me to openly criticize a company that I love and gave so much to, but at PayPal's new AUP goes against everything I believe in. A private company now gets to decide to take your money if you say something they disagree with. Insanity.
Now, policies, so contracts like this, so the way anybody who's confused like what their argument here was here and why they thought they could do this, so they are claiming that they are suffering damage to their public image
by being associated,
by doing business with somebody who they associate with either misinformation or hate speech. We all know how meaningless that term is. That's their claim, is that it's causing them damage. Now, that would never hold up in court because you could never show that there was, that tort law doesn't allow for theorized potential damage. You have to show real demonstrable damage to have occurred, which they would never be able to do. But to avoid having to do that and having to sue you and having to go into tort law, what they do instead is they write it in to the terms of service, which means that you are implicitly agreeing to let them do this by engaging in this type of business with them. Now, those contracts are really common between companies. There are lots of contracts like that where Company A requires that company B, because they're openly doing business with them, adhere to a certain public image, a certain standard of conduct and things.
Mm-hmm.
And those are common for business to business because it's all business and it's all about image and everything else.
Yeah,
But they're trying to apply this.
That's big. That's big when it comes to green companies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Green company to anybody that does
another
business.
one.
Yeah, anybody that does business with any kind of public figures, things like that, they'll do that kind of contract. But they were trying to insert this into a de facto contract with individuals, random individuals, and without negotiation on it. That is the implications of the fact that they felt they could even get away with it is pretty horrifying.
Dave says they took all my money because they didn't like my patch. Then accused me of being a webcam porn girl. I feel like there's a patch idea over there.
Yeah, exactly. Only boobs, and just have a dude like from behind turning around that's just in a Hawaiian shirt and like NVGs in a helmet, and he's going, and it just says only boobs.
Only
I
boobs.
like it. Yeah.
Only
or hey, you want to see my boobs? Huh?
Yeah, I want to see my boobs.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, I mean, but this is the kind of crap. So like, this is again, I've talked about it before. This is what happens when you have companies that exist in these echo chambers of extreme leftism, where they don't have anybody. They haven't hired anybody. They won't allow anybody in who's of an opposing viewpoint. Yep. So when they go to bounce ideas off of each other, like, do you think we could do this? Does this seem reasonable? You have a bunch of raving crazy people who are the ones who are going, yeah, that seems reasonable. If you get a bunch of people in an insane asylum together and ask them whether or not, like, something completely insane makes sense, they're going to be like, yeah, that seems totally reasonable, right? Like, you get a ton of kleptomaniacs together, diagnosed kleptomaniacs, and you ask them if, like, shoplifting is okay, they're going to tell you, yeah, it's totally fine. Like, you can't rely on that, but they refuse to interact with anybody who doesn't agree with them already.
It's like the people that are very, 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 very strongly pro-jab are now okay with nuclear war.
Yeah. Because the only people that they interact with are also nuts.
Are also people that follow that line of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, they're also people who are completely mentally unstable. And so you get a bunch of crazy people together and they go, oh, well, we workshopped this. You workshopped it among a bunch of
in an echo chamber
asylum inmates. Like, that was it. There was nobody with any alternative thinking at all. That's why it made sense to you. That's why you thought, well, but I already workshopped this. I don't understand why everyone's so mad. Well, that's because the rest of the human race that doesn't think like you is rational.
Well, I mean, give or take. So,
or at least more rational. I mean, maybe not rational, but more rational than you are. And you didn't look at any alternative viewpoints. You didn't look at any differing viewpoints. You didn't talk to them. And it works on both sides of the fence, right? Like, you will have a whole group of neocons that will come up with something that is just like blatantly neo-fascist. And think that it just completely makes sense. And like, well, why would you ever oppose this? Well, there are a lot of reasons to oppose it that you didn't find out about because you didn't bother to talk to anybody who didn't think the way you did already.
Okay. This the new policy, it really does read like a Mad Lib. The new policy. It says the new conditions were scheduled to be added to the restricted activity section of PayPal user agreement effective November 3rd. Changes included prohibition on, quote, the sending, posting, or publication of any message, content, or materials that promoted misinformation. While the prior policy already forbade hate, intolerance, and discrimination, the new one would have explicitly added to specific protected groups and individuals or groups based on protected characteristics. Identities under the umbrella included race, religion, gender or gender identity, and sexual orientation.
I think I actually didn't I post their new agreement in our Telegram to you
I have
guys.
no
I think
idea.
when it came out,
I
yeah, I
assume
did.
so.
Because I also I not only highlighted this, I highlighted their new ban on all firearm components
Yes.
and accessories.
Yes. Breaking the rule against misinformation and hate speech, quote, may subject you to damages, including liquidated damages of $2,500 per violation, which may be debited directly from your PayPal account. If a user agreement account holders accept or attest to payment is, quote, presently a reasonable minimum estimate of PayPal's actual damages due to the expense the firm incurs by accounting for the violations as well as the damages to its reputation.
There is no way that would hold up in court, first of all. There's no
Yes.
freaking way. Second of all, if you stole $2,500 from me because you didn't like what I said, I am not, for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to say what my reaction would be, but it would be poor.
Yes. It also mentions that recently banned from PayPal was gays against groomers.
Mm-hmm. They, I mean, they've been doing that for a while. They've been banning organizations and companies that they just don't like from their platform for quite some time, which as a private company, they're technically allowed to do. However, and I love what Elon Musk made a point about with this when he was talking about Twitter, when you become a de facto public forum and you become a de facto like public like public bazaar and money exchange, which is kind of what PayPal is, right? You may not necessarily be obligated to uphold the ideals of the Bill of Rights, but you should probably feel obligated to.
Yes. If you take a dime of public dollar, you're not a private company.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and what and like Musk, his point too was with Twitter was like Twitter is a public forum now. Like whether they want to be or when they want to admit that or not, they are. And regardless of how you feel about what private companies should and should not be able to do, the reality is that you should feel a level of obligation to behave in the best interests of the most people, not in the best interest of your own ideology anymore.
Well, once you become big enough, like Facebook, like Twitter, that sort of thing, I agree with that. But like Truth Social, right? They're so small; it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're
not gonna force a bakery to make a cake for a gay wedding just because they've made cakes for the majority of the town.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because they're a private company. They're not a de facto public service.
Yeah.
Right. But when you get that big, you should inherently feel an obligation to then act as though you were under those obligations.
So you would say it is not good that Facebook and the U.S. government have united against Americans with wrong views?
Oh, fascist book is purely fascist book. Let's all be honest here. Like Zuckerberg is one step below actually wearing a brown shirt.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to do birds of a feather as lizard people, and it's not really working for me.
He's not a lizard person. He's an android. We all know.
Created by lizard people.
Dude, this is the great thing. So if you're not familiar with Grant Cardone, anybody who's not familiar with him should definitely check him out. He's super awesome. But Grant Cardone even posted a meme about Steal His Look with Mark Zuckerberg that included like human skin for like $58,000. It was awesome.
Well, it's been revealed by sources within the U.S. Department of Justice that direct messages sent through Facebook by American users, along with public postings, have been rigorously monitored and reported to the FBI if they express anti-government, anti-authority views, or if they question the legitimacy of the November 2020 presidential elections outcome.
Dave, to your point about the patch, I actually have a design for that already. I can definitely send you.
Yeah. They have a. Let's see. I think you posted one in the group chat, but
in the Telegram chat, yeah.
Yeah. Under the terms of a secret collaboration agreement with the FBI, a Facebook staffer has, over the past 19 months, been red flagging content they consider to be, quote, subversive, and immediately transmitting it to the Bureau's Domestic Terrorism Operational Unit without the FBI having filed a single subpoena. Outside the established U.S. legal process, without probable cause, and in breach of the First Amendment, which is probably why I'm banned. Just as shockingly, these intercepted communications were then provided as leads and tips to FBI field offices across the U.S., which in turn secured subpoenas in order to officially obtain the private conversations that they had already possessed, and thus cover up the fact that the material has been obtained extra legally.
Well,
Facebook invariably complied with these subpoenas, which would send back, quote, gigabytes of data and photos within an hour, suggesting the content sought was already packaged and awaiting legal confirmation before distribution.
Remember that according to U.S. case law, it does not matter if a private citizen used illegal means to obtain information that they then voluntarily provided to the police. It only matters whether or not the police used illegal means.
Yes.
So, for instance, you can, I don't know, say be Batman and go to Hong Kong and kidnap a guy and then dump him at the steps of the Gotham Police Department. That is actually completely legal for the police to then arrest him. It's just that the police are restricted.
But Facebook is not a private citizen, though.
Well, but see, Facebook is considered a private company under the law. They are not part of, according to the law, they are not part of government, which means government can go, oh gosh, you gave me this, even though it totally violates the First Amendment and the Fourth Amendment that you gave it to me. Oh, well, you provided it. I didn't go looking for it, so now it's legal.
Yep, I've already called dibs on Jack being my FEMA camp cellmate. Yeah, Jack says, I hope we're on more than one together, meaning more than one list. Yeah, bro.
Dude, we're on so many lists at this point.
We're on so many lists.
There's literally there's a white panel van that has just started parking outside of my house every day now.
It's funny because in the middle of this article, there's an ad for Bump and Bump on it.
Talk about targeted advertising. That is
it is uncertain quite how many users were flagged. This guy, but it's abundantly clear a specific type of person was of interest to the FBI. Red-blooded conservative right-wingers, many of whom supported the right to bear arms. Not one was connected to Antifa, BLM, or any other left-wing group was ever informed on.
What a shock! How completely
it seems not a single Facebook user snitched upon for daring to be possessed of troublesome political opinions was ever arrested or prosecuted for their wrongthink, even though some were reportedly subject to covert surveillance and other forms of intrusion and harassment.
You know who else was subject to covert surveillance? Aretha Franklin was subject to covert surveillance. Martin Luther King Jr. was subject to covert surveillance. Ernest Hemingway was subject to covert surveillance.
Leonard Peltier.
Covert surveillance.
Speaking of Leonard Peltier, the DNC, one of their committees just passed a resolution. They want Leonard Peltier released. It's going to the DNC for a full vote. Probably won't happen, but if you know the story, that's a hell of a story.
That would be pretty shocking. And you'll notice that a lot of publications always call Leonard Peltier convicted cop killer. Leonard Peltier. Yeah.
Well, first off, he didn't kill cops. It was accessory after the fact, and the people that killed the police were found not guilty.
Yeah. He was convicted of helping people who were found not guilty.
Yes, wrong think. Hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
Their views were constantly found to not translate to criminality or violence. Their words were simply brutal condemnations of Biden's election and presidency and aggressive calls for protest. However, once the user's information reached FBI headquarters, it appears to have been selectively and misleadingly edited. Quote, the most erroneous parts highlighted and taken out of context in order to perk the interest of field officers. Once the same data was sought and accessed for them via subpoena, the conversation, quote, did not sound as bad. And none pointed to any, quote, plan or orchestration to carry out any kind of violence. No one spoke of injuring, let alone killing anyone.
Gee, it's almost like it's only about wrong think, and it's not actually about, protecting anybody.
The entire operations appears to have been a gigantic waste of time, but given the Biden administration's rhetoric about the January 6th Capitol insurrection, I love that they put the insurrection in quotes, it would hardly surprise that the FBI was under intense political pressure or to make as many arrests as possible of, quote, right-wing terrorists in order to make the sensationalist fantasies of the White House officials a reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jack, covertly watch them. That's what we'll do.
And we're banned. Andrew, why'd your dog stop barking?
If I had a dog.
Yes. Luckily for those Facebook users flagged by the FBI, none of them were victim of similar sting operations. Although in the case of the October 2020 kidnapping, targeted mission by militia members, 12 individuals involved planning their work for the Bureau. So, yeah, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But I had to bring that up because, we've known forever and a day that the Department of Justice has a backdoor into the FBI or a backdoor into Facebook. Like we knew that they gave Facebook like $20 billion or whatever it was, or $40 million, whatever it was, and they bought access to Facebook. I did not know that Facebook unsolicitedly was sending names and posts to the federal government, though.
Well, I think we didn't know, but I think we all suspected, though, right? Like, I think we all suspected that was going on. And, and I can remember, in 2020 talking to people and being like, stop sending things in messages in Facebook. You guys are dumb. If you're going to be sending anti-government stuff in these messages, understand the FBI is reading all of this.
If you're using a commercially available device with apps downloaded from the Google Play Store, it doesn't matter what security you have, you're being monitored, bro. Period.
Dude, Telegram has a different version for the Google Play Store that allows open access to government agencies and censors things than if you download it from them directly.
Yes, the Google Play Store version of Telegram will censor certain channels, but if you go through Telegram directly, telegram.org, and download the app directly from them, it's not censored.
Yeah, their APK is different from them. And it's actually a much more encrypted. It's still not truly secure, but it's much more encrypted and much more free if you go through them, because they're not beholden to Google's terms of service to offer the app on Google Play. But now, if you read through the developer terms of service, they have to allow those backdoors in order to be allowed.
Even the Telegram direct download still bans RT America, though, or RT News. I can see that there's new posts in the RT chat, but I can't access the RT chat.
Oh, so, you can. You can. You just need to use a VPN.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
NordVPN, sponsor me.
Yeah.
Just fishing for another sponsorship, man. I'm always looking for that next one.
if NordVPN sponsors us, I'm sure we could get Dave to make a patch for him.
See, I would love to have Nord as a sponsor. They sponsor like everyone else, man. Why can they not sponsor us? Like, I'm just saying.
So, but that those lead us, those two articles lead us to this John Rutherford Institute. He did a piece called "All of Us Are in Danger When Anti-Government Speech Becomes Sedition," and it's a long,
like that thing that
long
the
piece,
founding fathers specifically were like, "Dear God, this will be when
like
the country is
the
completely."
very first thing in the Bill of Rights,
Yeah.
the right to free speech, not the right
First
to approve
Amendment.
speech.
Yeah,
No.
like, but I mean, like, if you read the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, and you read the minutes of Congress during the debate over the First Amendment, almost universally, even the Federalists agreed that when governments started calling speech that was in opposition to itself sedition and treason, that was when the country had truly descended into totalitarianism, basically, truly into tyranny again. And that was what they feared.
If we created a digital church and talked about things in there, would we be double protected since it's two violations of the First Amendment?
I mean, by a paper shield.
Yeah.
I can think of a better one.
Those are extremely bulletproof. No. Not as bulletproof as Granthum's video today.
That's so cool. Oh man. That was neat.
That round going off inside the cavity was just
when he sticks the entire broom handle into the wound cavity, like it just slides in there, and he's like, I mean, he might be okay.
Pulls out like the 6-inch section of rib. Oh, he didn't need that anymore.
Yeah, he didn't need that anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. That spoiler alert, if you get shot with a 50, even if you have Call of Duty Modern Warfare levels of armor
what did it go through? It went through 3 plates?
3 plates. It stopped on the 3rd.
3 level 3 plates?
Yeah, 3 level. Were they level 3 or were they level 4? I don't know. I think they were level 4, weren't they?
I think they're level 4s, yeah.
Yeah, I went through 3 level 4, and that's an FMJ, through 3 level 4 plates before it stopped. Like, it was beautiful watching it hit.
Dave says, "Don't become branch Covidians." I mean, if you're gonna go, I mean, fighting the government in a raid is pretty high on the list.
I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah.
We could even call ourselves Branch Covidians, not actually be Branch Covidians, but just call ourselves that. And then what are they going to do?
Yeah. If you can't say fuck, you can't say fuck the government. That's a Lenny Bruce. He's a comedian quote. Anti-government speech has become a 4-letter word. In more and more cases, the government is declaring war on what should be protected political speech whenever it challenges the government's power, reveals the government's corruption, exposes the government's lies, and encourages the citizenry to push back against the government's many injustices. Indeed, there is a long and growing list of the kinds of speech that the government considers dangerous enough to red flag and subject to censorship, surveillance, investigation, and prosecution. Hate speech, conspiratorial speech, treasonous speech, threatening speech, inflammatory speech, radical speech, anti-government speech, extremist speech, etc. Things are about to get even dicier for those who believe in fully exercising their rights of political expression. Indeed, the government's seditious conspiracy charges against Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers, and several of his associates for the alleged involvement in the January 6th Capitol riots pushed the entire concept of anti-government political expression on trial. Enacted during the Civil War to prosecute secessionists, seditious conspiracy makes it a crime for 2 or more individuals to conspire to, quote, overthrow, put down, or destroy by force the U.S. government, or to levy war against it, or to oppose by force, or try to prevent the execution of any law. It's a hard charge to prove, and the government's track record hasn't been the greatest. It's been almost a decade since the government tried to make a seditious conspiracy charge stick against a small Christian militia accused of plotting to kill police officers and attack attendees at a funeral in order to start a civil war and it lost the case, meaning that the government lost the case. Although the government was able to show that the Hutri had strong anti-government views, the Hutri are a Michigan militia. The Hutri had strong anti-government views. The judge ruled in U.S. versus Stone that, quote, offensive speech and a conspiracy to do something other than forcefully resist a positive show of authority by the federal government is not enough to sustain a charge of seditious conspiracy. Whether or not prosecutors are able to provide or able to prove their case that Rhodes and his followers intended to actually overthrow the government, the blowback will be felt far and wide by anyone whose political views can be labeled anti-government. All of us are in danger. Which is not wrong.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think that a lot of people need to realize, and unfortunately, like, it's been a trend, for a very long time in the United States, and people don't realize that just because the government's on your side today, does not mean that they'll be on your side tomorrow. And the powers that you're encouraging them to have, and the liberties you're encouraging them to take, are going to be the things that they then wield against you when they turn against you. Yeah. They are not your friend, no matter what you think. No one in government is your friend.
Well, not only that, but the word sedition, the word treason, the word conspiracy, they're expanding. Right? Mm-hmm. They're starting. They're like they were this little umbrella, and it meant this, and now it means more than that, and it means more than that, and every time it gets used, every time it gets to applied to things that aren't actually seditious, things that aren't actually treasonous, things that aren't actually part of a conspiracy. It expands the word, and the word goes from this actual definition into a huge umbrella term that just it pulls so much underneath it, and it's become it went from something to be feared to being called to a gotcha term, right? It's being called treasonous or seditious, subversive, things like that. They're right up there with being called racist or sexist or whatever now.
Well, and don't forget that it
literally means nothing. Yeah, Windows shifts.
The people who started that ball rolling of calling things treasonous were the conservatives, not the progressives. It was the conservatives, and it was during George W. Bush's presidency. Yes. That is when that term started getting thrown around at things like people saying, not my president, people criticizing the president, and openly defying government. That was when the conservatives started calling all of that stuff treason. That is when it started. And now, again, like I said, that the government isn't always going to be on your side, or let you think that they're on your side.
The government is never on your side. The government is on the government's side.
Yeah, they won't always let you think that they're on your side. They won't always.
The government just has temporary alliances with people.
Right. So when the conservatives started to push the window to allow that to be a thing that got said in relation to just being anti-government, that is when this ball started rolling.
It was used,
and now these chickens are starting. Yeah, and
now
these chickens
are starting under Obama.
Yep,
under Obama, the word treason and sedition, incredibly, and the word was everywhere.
Well, I mean, even before that, like I say, Bush's second term, right? Like Bush's second term, I heard that constantly in conservative circles.
Yeah,
constantly. Where you heard people talking about that's treasonous, that's treason, that's tantamount to treason. And you heard it getting applied by conservatives to people who were critical of Bush.
Yes.
Like just the nature of being critical of George W. Bush was being declared treason. I heard it. Like a lot of people might argue that now because they have very convenient memories. But like I was in hardcore conservative circles at the time. All right. We're talking about 05, 06. Like, if you're familiar with me, you may know some things about what I was doing in those years. I was in very hardcore conservative circles, and I'm telling you that was getting thrown around all the time at the time. And that was the first time in my life I had ever heard anybody in the U.S. throw those words around like that. And and I had really largely always, when I was younger, heard that term getting used as they called being critical of King George treason. Like that was always a bad thing, that was a sign of tyranny if somebody starts calling you being critical of government treason.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 9/11, all of a sudden conservatives are throwing that word around without a second thought, and they started this ball rolling, and now those chickens have come home to roost.
Yeah.
Conservatives started this. They are not innocent here. They made this happen. This is a perfect demonstration.
That word was thrown around under Carter too, when or not Carter, under Ford also, when the economy went really, really bad. Not to that level though. I mean, it used to be such a revered word that it was just whispered in the shadows, and now it's part of everyday lexicon. I see the word on Twitter all the time.
I don't think treason can actually exist. It's not a real thing. Treason can't exist in anything but tyrannical regimes. It's the only place that it can exist, because in a free society, treason can't happen.
Guy Fawkes?
Huh?
Guy Fawkes is treasonous.
Yeah, but that was in a free society.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that wasn't a free society, and I would just call that an act of war. That an invalid act of war, in my opinion. It was guerrilla warfare. Deal with it.
We need to do an episode on guerrilla warfare one of these days. There's so many episodes we need. There's so many episodes we need to do an episode on that we're never going to do all the episodes.
Yeah, well, because I don't want to go to prison. I'm
already banned from Facebook. It's
fine. Dave said he actually texted me. Do you mean Grantham? Like Mike texted you the other day? Is that what you're talking about? Did Mike texted? Because I'm pretty sure, that Mike actually, he's Flannel Daddy. That's Grantham, Mike Jones. I'm pretty sure he actually taught the SEER course, one of the SEER courses I took. Pretty sure, not 100% sure. I only vaguely remember, but he might have actually taught the SEER course. Because he's a real pipe hitter. Look at that. And also pretty fucking openly anti-government based as hell. Look at how that works.
Military officer got arrested for treason for selling military medical records to Russia. Yeah, treason can exist in a free society. Yeah, that's what Andrew just said. It can only exist in a tyrannical system, right? We live in a tyrannical system, so people can commit treason.
Yeah, people can do things like that because you have government, because you have this centralized authority, and without that, there's no way to commit treason. That you need governments in order for treason to exist. Now, betrayal can exist. Betrayal of your fellows can exist. That is a thing. But the term treason means something specific. And it's the term treason implies that you are acting seditiously against the government to the detriment of the country as a whole. And that's what treason implies. And if there's no government, if you're in a truly free society, you can't have treason.
Yeah.
There's no government for you to act against.
We're not free, so treason's not necessarily wrong.
Yeah, I think that if you are, it depends, because I think you can act maliciously for the sake of acting maliciously. I think you can do
absolutely.
things
2020
that hurt people. It's like one of my big things is, one of the things that I like about, what Julian Assange did.
Grantham message. He just sent me a picture. It was
Grantham message. Yeah, so it's Mike. Okay, cool. Yeah. Mike's cool dude. No. Big fan of Mike. But anyway, so what I was saying though is, the thing is that you can act maliciously, and one of the things that I appreciated about what Julian Assange did is he always made sure that he didn't expose anybody who could be hurt. by like actually hurt. So like intel workers who are in the field, guys that I work with, guys like me when we were there, he never exposed us in a way that we would get murdered immediately for being exposed by his stuff. He always made sure that people weren't being hurt.
Yeah, government secrets.
Care about
government secrets, not people's secrets.
Yeah, exactly. He always made sure he didn't hurt people. I think that that's something that you should be upset about. Like that's a legitimate thing to be upset about, is if you're hurting people. But if you're hurting government, like I don't fucking care. Like hurt them. That's fine. Like I don't care. Screw the government.
Like the lawyer that was arrested for throwing Molotovs at police cars. In recent years, the government has used the phrases In recent years, the government has used the phrase domestic terrorist interchangeably with anti-government, extremist, and terrorist to describe anyone who might fall somewhat on a very broad spectrum of viewpoints that could be considered dangerous. The ramifications are so far-reaching as to render almost every American with an opinion about the government, or who knows someone with an opinion about the government, an extremist in word, deed, thought, or by association. You see, the government doesn't care if you or someone you know has a legitimate grievance. It doesn't care if your criticisms are well-founded, and it certainly doesn't care if you have the First Amendment right to speak truth to power. What the government cares about is whether what you're thinking or speaking or sharing or consuming as information has the potential to challenge its stranglehold on power. Why else would the FBI, CIA, NSA, and other government agencies be investing in corporate surveillance technologies that can mine constitutionally protected speech on social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram? Why else would the Biden administration be likening those who share, quote, false or misleading narrative or conspiracy theories or other forms of mis or dis or malinformation to terrorists? According to the Department of Homeland Security's terrorism bulletin, quote, threat actors seek to exacerbate societal friction, to sow discord and undermine public trust in government institutions, to encourage unrest, which could potentially inspire acts of violence.
People shouldn't ever trust government institutions, period. So if you're undermining people's trust in government institutions, like, let me shake your hand. Good job. Keep up the good work.
Sam Adams is proud of you.
Yeah, you're doing the Lord's work.
Yes. What country can preserve its liberties if its rulers are not warned from time to time that the people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. That's a quote from Jefferson. Franklin says, quote, democracy is two wolves in a land voting on what to have for lunch. Liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. Thomas Paine, Marquis de Lafayette, John Adams, Patrick Henry would most certainly be labeled domestic extremist for exhorting Americans to defend themselves against the government if it violates their rights. He's not wrong. I don't know where Andrew went. Andrew disappeared. He says, who forget Patrick Henry, the ultimate end could be death. Conduct your own experiment into what the government's tolerance of speech that challenges authorities and see for yourself. Stand on the street corner or in a courtroom at a city council meeting or a university campus and try denouncing the government with some of the founders' rhetoric. My guess is that you won't last long before you get thrown out, shut up, or threatened with arrest, or at the very least accused of being a radical, a troublemaker, a sovereign citizen, a conspiracy theorist, or an extremist. Or maybe you'll just get defined. It's happening all across the country. Which is not wrong. It's not wrong at all, what he's saying.
No, I mean, and that's the thing is, yeah, you see that everywhere, where as soon as anybody... I mean, we saw that during the COVID bullshit. Like, we saw where people would show up to, like, to school board meetings.
They wrote a letter to the DOJ asking them to investigate parents that wanted a say in their children's education.
Yeah, like we've seen this. Like, this isn't a an academic thing. Like, we've literally watched recently this happen. And I think that it's very telling, that so many more people are starting to notice it. Because, like, we were talking about at the time, a lot of us in the anarchist movement and stuff, we were talking about it at the time and pointing out, like, hey, conservatives, guess what? Like, you guys started this. You really did. And all they're doing is just adopting your tactics and building off of what you started. Left wing, right wing, same shit covered pigeon, right? So, like, we pointed this out.
Yeah.
It's my favorite term I've coined. The left, it doesn't matter if it's a left wing or a right wing, they're on the same shit covered pigeon. But like,
it's a stupid fucking pigeon, bro.
It's well, and the reason I use a pigeon is because remember that no matter whether you win or not against a pigeon playing chess, it'll still shit all over the board and knock over the pieces and strut around like it won. That's my point. Is left wing, right wing, it's the same shit covered pigeon, right? Like, it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong, they're still going to knock over the pieces and strut around like they won no matter what. Mm-hmm. Because they're too dumb to know anything any other way. The thing is that, like, we saw all of this coming at the very beginning of the pandemic. We saw this shit starting to develop, and long before it, we saw it developing, and we're bringing things up, and people didn't want to listen. And now that they finally saw what we were warning them was coming, now suddenly they care. But the window's shifted. Right? The window's already shifted, man. This has already been a thing that's changed. And trying to walk that back is not a thing that I think you can do under reasonable means.
No, it's like trying to pick up spilled milk, right? Trying to put the milk back into the carton after you already spilled it, right? It's not going to work. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. The only way that you can't change what's happening now. You can only try to get around what is happening now. As we talked about in on the Vanu podcast with me and Shane, right? When the government goes high tech, you go low tech, right? There's government is reactionary. It's not necessarily proactive. The government reacts to things that already exist. So you have to be constantly changing in order to stay ahead of the government.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time since I was on one of Shane's podcasts. It's probably been 4 years, 3 years? Jesus.
Something like that.
It's been a long time. But like, that's one of those things is like, you need to realize that, and what is it that we talked about? Like 40% of Americans are of the opinion we're already in the beginning stages of a civil war.
40, I think it's 45%, something like that.
Yeah. It's a significant amount, but like, the thing is like where we're at now, we've gone too far now. Mm-hmm. You can't walk this back. Like this has already happened.
Well, okay. Not only has it already happened, but they're openly admitting that it's already happened, which means it actually happened a long time ago, and they're just now letting you know about it because it's so far along that you can't stop it.
Yeah. Because what are you going to do about it?
It's like the recession. It's like the recession. The recession's already happening. They're just not saying it. And once they admit that it is happening, the dam's going to break.
Well, and they're saying what? Current reported inflation is at 8.5%. I think is what I saw for the last thing.
Yeah, it's twice that. I just want grocery.
Yeah, it's close. We're approaching 20%. And what is 20% inflation?
$75 for 12 gallons of gas on Saturday.
Yeah,
$75 for 12 gallons of gas. Regular, by the way.
Yeah, here in Wisconsin for premium, filling Lindsay's car. Lindsay's car has a 16-gallon tank. I was basically on E. Filling it cost me $70 and change. Filling my truck cost me, from a quarter tank, cost me $90 and change. Like, that's... Actually, it was $99 if I remember. It was $99 and change, which makes me laugh because the pump, if you swipe at the pump, it gives you $100. like as a balance to use.
Yeah, $100
Which
limit.
means if my tank's completely empty, I actually have to try and fill twice.
Yeah.
To actually fill my tank.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's so messed
But
up.
like this is
that
like
bar
this
in
is
Idaho
the
is
world.
looking better and better, Andrew.
Dude, there have been some job listings in Montana that I've been eyeballing real hard, and
I got offered a couch in Wyoming again.
I have to work for my current employer for 6 months, or I got to pay him back for a 6-month sign-on bonus. But
I bought a lottery ticket today, so I went down and got lunch, and I bought a lottery ticket. So we're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I mean,
and
like,
everybody in the chat is getting a free baby goat if I win the lottery. So
he's gonna go all Oprah, and you get a baby goat, and you get a baby goat, and you get everybody gets a baby goat.
Yes, but only if you're in the chat tonight. I'm keeping a list.
That was Shells. That was at Quick Trip yesterday. That it was $100 limit. So
yeah, they won't let you use credit cards now at my local gas station.
Really?
You buy gas with credit cards because so many people are defaulting on the credit cards. No,
it's nuts, dude. I mean, I work in the subprime lending world. So when economies get tough, my job gets easier. It's just the fact of the matter, right? Like, when the economy gets like crap, then there are more people who are subprime, and they still need financing, right? They still want to buy a house, so they got to find that financing somewhere. So, but like, we are seeing a massive boom, which I think says a lot about the economy.
Yes, Scott. Literally, or Scott. Yes, Dave. Literally, any state is better than where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it is.
Literally. Okay. I take that back. New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware. No.
Yeah, that's true. New York.
Upstate New York is better. New York City, no. Southern Illinois, yeah, maybe. Chicago, no.
I wouldn't even go with Southern Illinois. I've been to Southern Illinois. Illinois is Wisconsin's Mexico, and there's a reason that we call it our Mexico. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to fortify the border.
I heard a joke today. Oklahoma. You know why there's so many tornadoes in Oklahoma? Because Kansas sucks and Texas blows.
It's also accurate. But like, again, I mean, really what this is, though, is that like some of us saw all of this coming, and everybody else who's just now noticing, it's too late. By the time you guys have noticed, it's too late. It's already happened. Like, we tried to warn you. We spent years trying to warn you that this shit was coming, and you were like, but I mean, yeah, they're extremists. They don't. I mean, they are the extremists, man. I don't know about. And now, does anything we say on this podcast seem all that extreme?
No. I mean, there's a lot of things that I want to say that I won't say on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
because number one, I want the podcast to still exist.
Yeah,
right.
Dude, I have an artillery round behind me. It's there are many things. My office is covered with patents for firearms designs. But I won't even go into what that thing wrapped up in plastic wrap over here is. It's just a block of aluminum. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But the thing is like what we're starting to see from a lot of these authors and stuff that are starting to put stuff out is they are talking very openly now about the dystopian reality that we're finding ourselves in. And I think it's very telling that so many otherwise somewhat mainstream media are starting to talk about, like, are we in a civil war? Are we heading into civil war? Are we, are we in tyranny? Are we heading into tyranny? You know, they're starting to acknowledge this stuff.
There's one that I kind of want to discuss, not on this episode, but at another time. And it's wasn't the title of that one. It said, should red states band together and form a NATO-like alliance?
Yeah, because NATO's working out so hot for the world.
Yeah, that's a Western Journal article, and it's you can't really read that article without getting some feels. So,
I mean, I think, you know, there are an alarming number of parallels between not just World War II, like the interwar
Mhm.
years leading into World War II, but the years leading into World War I and now, which are far more alarming,
Mhm.
in my opinion, because World War I happened because of like things like hyper nationalism, you know, xenophobia, a lot of economic downturn issues and things. The multinationalism trying to be a thing that just didn't work. You know, I mean, you know, part of the reason why, you know, the World War I started was because there were so many countries in the Austro-Hungarian Empire that wanted independence and couldn't get them, and get it, and they were willing to do whatever it took to try and get independence, and that tore the world apart.
Yep. So would you say that turning Taiwan into a giant weapons depot would maybe not be good to world peace?
How could that possibly go wrong?
There's a New York Times article. American officials are intensifying efforts to build a giant stockpile of weapons in Taiwan after studying recent naval and air force exercises by the Chinese military around the island.
My question is, what weapons are you going to stockpile there? You're sending them all to Ukraine, fuckers. We don't have anything anymore.
The exercise showed that China would probably blockade the island as a prelude to any attempted invasion, and Taiwan would have to hold on its own until the United States or other nations intervene, if they decided to do that, the current and former officials say.
You know, my favorite thing about the idea of Taiwan being invaded, my favorite thing, flat out, all honesty, my favorite thing about that idea is the fact that Taiwan has so much fucking money and such a relatively small military. They would hire mercenaries like hell.
Yep.
And they would pay them well. And
South Pacific Legion.
I could use some money. So I may suddenly find myself with a valuable job opportunity.
Yes. So hold on. The United States and its allies have prioritized sending weapons to Ukraine, which is reducing those countries' stockpiles, and arm makers are reluctant to open new production lines without a steady stream of long-term orders.
Obviously, because they have to retool. Do you know what it takes to build a weapon? Are you kidding me? Like, there's a huge amount of cost involved. If I don't know that I'm going to make a decent amount of money doing that, why would I start building shit?
Yes. And it's unclear how China might respond if the United States accelerates shipments of weapons to Taiwan, a democratic, self-governing island that Beijing claims as Chinese territory.
Despite having literally no historical claim whatsoever in the history of planet Earth to it at all.
Yeah.
I just want to point out.
U.S. officials are determining the quality and types of weapons sold to Taiwan by quietly telling Taiwanese officials and American arm makers that they will reject orders for some large systems in favor of greater numbers of smaller, more mobile weapons. The Biden administration announced September 2nd that it had approved a sixth weapon package for Taiwan, a $1.1 billion sale. $1.1 billion sale that includes 60 Harpoon coastal anti-ship missiles. U.S. officials are also discussing how to streamline the sale and delivery process.
You know what historically works out really well for countries?
Hold on. President Joe Biden said last month that the United States is, quote, not encouraging Taiwan's independence, adding that that's their decision. Since 1979, Washington has had a policy of reassuring Beijing that it does not support independence, but China's foreign minister Wang Yi said in a speech at the Asia Society last month that the United States was undermining that position, quote, by repeated official exchanges of arms sales, including many offensive weapons.
Well, first of all, I mean, China ain't wrong there. Yeah, we obviously are. But second of all,
yes, I'm 100% behind you on this one, Dave.
Dude, that's
pay me
Chinese.
in General Tao chicken and let's go.
That's Chinese.
That's not same Taiwanese thing.
You know what Taiwan has?
They claim Taiwan as their country, so we can get General Tao from Taiwan.
You know what Taiwan has?
Association.
Taiwan has a fabulous whiskey industry. One of my favorite.
You get the whiskey, I'll take the General Taos.
They can pay me in
we'll do the battle plan. We'll do the battle plan over dinner.
But I want to point out, first of all, Taiwan has one of the freest, if not the freest, economies in the world. It is incredibly free.
I think it's in the top 4 or 5.
Which is why they've become such an economic powerhouse to the point where the United States even gives a shit.
Yeah.
Is because, man, do they have money. Because they're so free, people can just go, I want to start a business, and then do it. Which they can't do in the United States. But Taiwan, you know, the funny thing is that Taiwan is in a position where China, for no reason other than they do have so much money, is claiming that they're in their territorial waters. Mm-hmm. It's a load of bullshit. They've never had a historical claim to them. Japan has more of a historical claim to Taiwan. Korea has more of a historical claim to Taiwan than China will ever have. They've both controlled that island. China has not. They're not Chinese. They're Taiwanese. They're much closer culturally, historically to
Taiwan
Korea.
Is not a member of NATO.
It's not. Taiwan, however, is very friendly to the United States, and they have large amounts of money. The thing is that if the United States still had what we used to have, the Monroe Doctrine, you could justify, I sell weapons to everybody. Mm-hmm. And just keep selling them weapons, and Taiwan happens to have a shit ton of money, and they want to buy a bunch of weapons. So we're going to sell them weapons. Why wouldn't we? But what I was going to say before, though, is, you know what historically works out super well for countries? Opening up a war on two fronts.
Yes.
On opposing ends. You know, like say on the West against Russia and the East against China. That surely will work out well. Just super great. You know, because it worked out so well for Germany a couple times. It's worked out well for France.
Taiwan's GDP per capita is 71,244, which is number 9, which is the 9th highest.
They are wild.
Luxembourg being the highest.
Well,
yeah. And then Ireland, Qatar, Singapore, Brunei, Darra, I can't even pronounce that. UAE, Switzerland, Norway, Taiwan.
Ireland's really that highly ranked?
Yeah. Well, they don't have a military.
Well, we don't have
much money on it.
Well, we do have a military.
You don't spend that much money on it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the military is constitutionally, just like Mexico, is constitutionally not allowed to deploy aggressively. And it's almost everything secondhand. And not only that, but the issue though that I have with that is that the majority of that is tied up with landowners. It's tied up with a very small segment of the population. Ireland,
people that don't start their own cars.
Yeah, it's generally very, very poor. There's a huge amount of Ireland is very poor. Trust me. Poor.
let's get out of this because we got 2 more articles and then we can finish up. Do you have anything else you want to say on the United States leading us into World War III to arm Taiwan?
No, I think I summed it up when I said, yeah, because historically it works out so well for countries to have wars on 2 opposing fronts. That's just always worked. It's what could go wrong.
Yeah. So, all right. California man fined $1,000 for drawing lines on maps. Andrew just did that Labrador head twist what thing?
Yes. What?
Ryan Crownholm, an entrepreneur in Los Angeles, is fighting the state of California for giving him a $1,000 fine for drawing maps. Crownholm, who is the founder of MySitePlan.com, a website that allows people to purchase informal maps for their property drawn from pre-existing information and images, was issued a citation from the California Board of Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists, who claimed that Crownholm and his site were illegally practicing land surveying without a license.
You need a license to look at a map and draw a picture?
No. You need a license to provide a map.
Oh, I see. So yes, if I draw it for myself, that's okay. But the moment I hand it to somebody, no, it's not okay.
The board stated that to, quote, depict the location of property lines, fixed works, and the geographical relationship thereto, quote, requires a license and required Crownholm to not only pay a $1,000 fine, but also stop his business. The board's language that anyone who, quote, depicts the location of property lines and features those within the lines needs to be licensed. It could be interpreted that anyone who has ever drawn a map of California without a license is breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I looked at the picture and I drew some squiggles. And therefore, I broke the law.
You're now a map maker, and you owe $1,000 to the state of California for not having a license for drawing those squiggles.
Meriwether Lewis is currently rolling over in his grave.
You could say that name, Meriwether Lewis, and probably half the people on the half people listening, maybe 2/3 of the people listening, have no idea who that is.
Oh yeah, I know.
I know who that is because I love that sort of stuff.
I'm just like, so if you're unfamiliar, so there was a point where the United States purchased a bunch of land from Napoleon Bonaparte of France. It's known as the Louisiana Purchase because they bought what was previously known as the Louisiana Territory. And then the president, which was Jackson, I hope, Andrew Jackson, decided that he wanted it mapped. So he sent a pair of people known as Lewis and Clark to go explore this land and draw a bunch of maps and stuff about what was there and survey exactly where it was. One of those people involved in that was Meriwether Lewis. He was the cartographer.
Yes. Yes, and Second Lieutenant William Clark, and 30 members sent out from Camp Dubois in Illinois in 1804.
Yes, and they were supposed to stop at the edge of the Louisiana Purchase, which they didn't. They actually went all the way to the Pacific Ocean.
Yes.
Interestingly, that also would lead almost directly to the crisis over the northwestern border of the United States versus Canada.
Thomas Jefferson is the one that.
Was it Jefferson? It was Jefferson. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was Jefferson, anyway, I'm sure somebody from my alma mater right now is just glaring at their screen like, you son of a bitch, you know better.
You dumb.
Yeah, but it was Jefferson. Well, Jefferson bought it. I couldn't remember if it was Jefferson or it was by the time Jackson was president. They actually went out.
Yes, Jefferson.
So the They actually went all the way to the west. They drew their whole way. They met a 14? Was Sacagawea 14? I think 14 years old at the time.
14 or 15, something like that. Yeah, really young.
Yeah, who went with them.
She's the one on the gold dollar.
Yep. She went with them to help guide them because she spoke a whole shit ton of languages, and so she could help them out. She was super useful.
Yep.
And her tribe was trying to make very nice with the Americans.
They're scary because they didn't want free blankets. That's what it was.
Well, I mean, what it was so the French had been super nice to them. I mean, the French generally dealt really, really fairly with natives, and so that the only white people they had really ever dealt with was the French. So they assumed that the Americans were probably going to be pretty nice to them too. So they're like, we want to get in really good with these guys. Boy, was that an error in judgment.
Big mistake.
But they so she went with them and stuff. They wound up going all the way to the Pacific Northwest to the Pacific Ocean.
Or they came across the Salmon River, the River of No Return, followed that to the Columbia, and followed the Columbia to the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, and it's funny because it wasn't long after that there was this stupid debate over the northern border of the United States and exactly how it was going to be, and which originates in Minnesota, which is fun.
Yeah, Russia claimed a lot of that.
Well, the Great Britain claimed that. What's interesting is Great Britain was claiming the section and originally the northern border of Minnesota was supposed to be this nice flat line coming off this northwest section of lake until they figured out that, it turns out that lake isn't there. Neither is the Mississippi. We're like 600 miles off. And so they had to redraw it. And they managed to make it go all the way to about Oregon, Washington, that area. And that's where things got sticky. And then there's this island that's in debate, and there's a war over a pig. And if you haven't heard about the pig war, look up my favorite account of it is History Oversimplified's account of the pig war. Absolutely hysterical and it totally true. So absolutely.
You know what they should really look up? They should look up your YouTube channel where you're going to do a video on that.
On the border, the northern border of the United States.
On the pig war. You can just sit there and talk for 15 minutes. You'll love it. They'll love it.
It's just as retarded as it sounds. It also involves several key members from history that you will have heard of, which is fun. But it's literally a war over a pig.
Yeah, Crown Home has teamed up with the Institute for Justice. They've taken his case and they're taking California to court.
As they fucking should.
Yes.
They talk about ridiculous. He's drawing pictures. And pictures that he straight up said were not official.
Not only is he drawing pictures that it actually says there's a disclaimer at the top of the site that says, quote, "This is not a legal survey, nor is it intended to be or replace one."
He drew a picture for you.
That's also listed in the company's About section, which clearly states it uses publicly available information such as Google Maps, GIS, and other programs with satellite imagery to create its digital drawings. It says, quote, "If your building department does not require a survey engineer or architect, stamp our plans. Architect stamp our plans are just what you need."
See, and that's the thing is like it's the equivalent of like because like in Wisconsin there's a big trend. And I don't know if they do it in California. I would assume they probably do, where there's like these aerial photography companies. Mm-hmm. They go around to farms and sell, an aerial photo of your farm and the land that makes up your farm and stuff. Okay. Those are all sold with a disclaimer that these are not legally representative of the actual property lines and not to be construed as an actual survey. Because obviously they're not. They took a photo of approximately what they figure it probably is. This is what he's doing, and he's drawing a picture. It's even less official than a photo.
Yeah, in the first claim, they said that the Institute of Justice bringing 3 claims against the board. He says the first one, the board violates Crown Home's First Amendment right to free speech. Right. Okay, so that's First Amendment. Secondly, they argue that, quote, "California's definition of land surveying is unconstitutionally overbroad and unconstitutionally vague." The team argues third for a, quote, "in the alternative claim under the 14th Amendment, meaning that the board's regulations should advance legitimate government interests and not discriminate against, quote, similarly situated people," which in this case refers to Crown Home or other people who draw their own site plans. So Yeah, he says it's not legal. It's not a legitimate legal surveyed map.
Yeah, he straight up says like, I'm not professionally surveying this. This is purely for your display purposes.
Yes, but they're still going to fine him $1,000 and say that no, you can't do that. You can't draw lines on a satellite picture.
Yeah, this is, you know what this is? This is the equivalent of like, you know, on like Etsy, there are those things that you can buy where it's like the top 3D topographical maps of like counties and states and stuff.
Yes.
This is the equivalent of fining them for not having a license to sell those.
Yes.
That's what this is. Like, because all he's doing is doing something for your own entertainment, your own like display on your wall and stuff. It's not a legal thing.
Yes. Okay, last one. Let's get into this is probably your second or third favorite subject. Hundreds of Virginians have had firearms confiscated through red flag laws. Andrew's twitching. Hundreds of Virginians have had their guns confiscated from them through red flag laws since those rules went into effect more than 2 years ago, according to data in the Virginia Firearms Transaction Center.
You know, fun fact: the 100 virgins that you get when you die in Islam is actually a mistranslation. It was 100 Virginians, so Thomas Jefferson just kicks your ass.
I mean, I can't argue with that. Red flag laws allow police to seize firearms from a person if a judge deems him or her to be a threat to himself or others, even if the person has not been convicted of a crime, charged. Fucking pop up it. Cannot be convicted or hasn't been convicted of a crime, charged with a crime, or even accused of a crime. The law passed the General Assembly when Democrats had control of both chambers and were signed by former Democratic Governor Ralph Northam. The legislation received staunch opposition from the Republican minority at the time. Virginia judges have issued at least 327 emergency substantial risk protection order, which allow police to temporarily confiscate firearms to address the immediate risk. Judges have issued 257 permanent substantial risk protection orders, which confiscates the guns permanently unless overturned through the court system.
That's just shy of 600 times this has been used.
Yes. That's 600 violations of shall not be infringed without conviction.
Just since it was passed, which was 2 years ago.
July 1, 2020 through August 2022.
So an average of like every 2.5 days.
25 months.
Yeah.
Nearly 600 confiscations.
Yeah, it's like one every 2.5 days.
Yes. Gun groups have been critical of the law ever since it was proposed because how much authority it granted to a judge and because a person might have the gun seized before he has a chance to defend himself in court. Yeah, you don't have to be convicted of anything. You don't have to be arrested for anything. You don't even have to be accused of anything for a red flag warrant to be issued.
There have been several people who have gotten into shootouts with police and died because the police showed up to confiscate their guns without due process and without true just cause, simply because somebody said they might potentially, theoretically, be a threat to someone or themselves.
Or because of a social media post.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, the ex-girlfriend, the angry ex-girlfriend, the angry ex-wife, right, says, oh, he threatened me. Here's a red flag, bro.
Or like we've brought up before with what if a abusive ex-boyfriend, right, who's never actually been charged with anything or anything else, she's never reported it, she buys a gun to protect herself from the ex-boyfriend who's abusive and everything else, and then he says, oh, look, she posted a thing about how she wants to kill me.
Yep.
She's clearly a danger. You need to confiscate her weapons. Weapons get confiscated. Yep. Now he can just walk into the house and shoot her because she's undefended.
Yeah.
Because red flag laws.
Yep. Or criminals can call a red flag in on their potential targets. Yep. SWAT. A lot of the SWATs are red flags. right? Oh, they threatened to do something, and here comes the SWAT team kicking in your front door.
How many times has what's his face been swatted now and it live on his podcast? Like 4, 5?
Who?
Oh God, what's his name?
Tim Pool? Oh no, the other
Pool.
guy.
Yeah,
I know
Pool.
Pool's had a few.
I think it's like 5.
There's another Twitch streamer that has had several. No.
Yeah, but I think Pool's like up to like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
That he's been swatted live on the air. He's just sitting there talking online, and people are swatting him because they don't like what he's saying.
Yep. No. But red flags are literally death sentences that are either commuted or not by the ability of the cop to withhold the trigger.
Yeah, because I mean and again, like I said, there are people who have died in shootouts with police where they weren't suspected or accused of an actual crime. It was that somebody claimed that they could potentially be a danger.
Ryan Whitaker.
Yeah, they could potentially be theoretically a danger to themselves.
Daniel Shaver, there's another one. Right there, there's the guy that was laying in the road with his therapist. They shot his therapist in the leg.
Yeah, with his hands up.
Yep.
Laying down.
Yep. No. Yeah, I don't have anything else, bro. You want to rant for a minute?
Yeah, it drives me nuts because it's like people are like, oh, well, it's just common sense. I mean, and the thing is that pro-gun people are so scared to openly oppose laws.
Because those that just want to be left alone will never defeat those that seek out to control them.
Yeah.
Right. The people on the right, the pro-gun people, a lot of them are so concerned with imagery. They're so concerned with I'm the good person. Look at me. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Look, I just want to be left alone. This and that and that and this. The people that want to control them, the people that want to disarm them, are actively out there trying to pass legislation, trying to red flag people, calling in the cops all the time. They're actively out there trying to take away your firearms. And a lot of firearms owners are just like, I just want to be left alone. I just want to be left alone. Yeah. Like, stop playing defense, bro. Yeah, stop playing defense.
Yeah, you just want to be left alone, but they do not want to leave you alone. So there's a point where you have to go, you know what? You are going to leave me alone, or I'm going to become upset with you.
Yes.
That's the point that you have to get to. You have to be willing. You have to be willing to stand up for your rights. Several of the founding fathers, lots of intellectuals over the course of the history of the United States in the liberty movement have said repeatedly, you only have the rights that you are willing to stand up for. And if you are not willing to stand up to this is the thing. A lot of Second Amendment supporters are not willing, right? They're not willing to openly oppose things like red flag laws and laws that say that people who appear to be mentally unfit shouldn't have weapons, or people who are convicted felons shouldn't have weapons. They're not willing to say it because, oh, well, but that'll make me seem crazy. They just want comments. No. Here's the thing, right? You understand, if you say that you support the Second Amendment, you understand that all the government has to do is convict you of whatever felony it wants to be able to take your guns away.
They don't even have to convict you of anything. All they have to do is say that you did something. All they have to do is accuse you of something. They don't have to bring charges. They don't have to get a conviction. All they have to say is that you were part of XYZ. You are XYZ. And because they have a monopoly on authority, because they have a monopoly on violence, because they have a monopoly on the legal system, that their word sticks. I mean, you can try to fight it in court. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. That's been proven again and again and again. Remember, public defenders, they work for the court system. Prosecutors work for the court system. Police work for the court system. Jailers work for the court system. The judge works for the court system.
They're all just doing their jobs.
It's entirely stacked against you.
Yep.
You can say, just wait for your day in court, but your day in court is an uphill battle from the very beginning, and it is a steep uphill battle.
You're Sisyphus.
Yeah. You're Sisyphus. Yeah. That's where you're at. I mean, and that's the thing is, like, if you're pro Second Amendment, you need to be willing to openly condemn these red flag laws for what they are, which is a guilty until proven innocent, to quote Donald Trump, take the guns first, due process second move. That is what they are. Remember, Trump said, I'm a fan of take the guns first, due process second.
Mm-hmm. He's a good guy. Real good guy. Totally a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's totally
by
on
the way,
his side.
the bump stock ban was upheld by Scooters. Or it wasn't upheld by Scooters. Scooters kicked it. So it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. So again, the bump stock ban that Donald Trump put in place. Remember when Obama tried that, everyone went up in arms. But when our boy Donnie, the lifelong New York Democrat, decided to do that, everyone went, but God, Emperor Trump.
Those things are dumb anyway.
Bunch of morons. But that's the thing, is if you want to be, like, call yourself pro-Second Amendment, you have to be willing to truly be Second Amendment. And a lot of the things in this culture, the way that things are getting pushed, the majority of things that you are going to stand for are not going to be popular. And if you are trying to only stick to what's popular, to what's acceptable right now, that means that all they have to do is shift the window yet again. The Overton window, look it up if you're unfamiliar. All they need to do is shift the Overton window again, and you're going to have to reduce the amount of things that you support yet again. And they're just going to keep doing it to you until there is nothing that you are willing to support anymore.
Like Camellia Harris saying that no pot smoker should be in jail, or people should not be in jail for marijuana.
Yeah, the same person who argued that people should be in jail for marijuana even longer because the state needed their labor, now saying people shouldn't be in jail.
The same prosecutor that withheld evidence that would have exonerated people for marijuana so she could keep them in jail longer to protect her record.
Yep. Yeah, this is the thing is, if you want to claim that you support the Second Amendment, you need to acknowledge that all of your opinions are unpopular and are just going to get steadily more unpopular. Just deal with it, accept it, acknowledge it, and keep being that vocal advocate. Because unless you present those alternative things, what I was talking about earlier, right, with those echo chambers and those hyper-leftist echo chambers, unless you force people to acknowledge that an alternative viewpoint exists, they'll never hear it. They won't ever encounter it. Yeah, you need to be so loud and so vocal and so in your face about it that they cannot ignore it and they have to acknowledge that it's a thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, they will never hear it, and the majority of the direction that this society is being hauled is going to drown you out.
Yep. So all right, let's
be louder than them, and there are a few things that are much louder than them.
We're so getting kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's throw some plugs and get out of here, bro.
Oh, so if you want to care for your beard like a Viking, you are going to use code Anarchist15. Get 15% off. They have their new, it's like a XXX carbon beard straightener that they have available. They have all sorts of cool scents, including their platinum scents. They have the gold scents. I highly recommend Odin's Virtue. It's my favorite one. It's the one that I use, and it makes your beard super soft, smells super great. They even have stuff for ladies if they want to use stuff in their hair, or they have perfumes. They have colognes now, all sorts of cool stuff. Again, that is thebeardstruggle.com. Code Anarchist15, 15% off. We are an affiliate of RK Spookware. You know what they do. If you need them, you know why you want that stuff. We're not going to go into it on the show, but we are an affiliate. Use the affiliate link if you want to get stuff from them. I am very happy to be an affiliate of Reaper brand apparel company. Check out Reaper Apparel. They are super awesome. Their message is absolutely fantastic. Take the 10-day Reaper challenge and see how it changes your life. And if you use the affiliate link, you get 15% off. If you don't want to use the affiliate link or you can't find it, you can always use code Anarchist at the checkout and you get 10% off instead of 15. But use the affiliate and you get 15% off. So why wouldn't you do that?
Yep, you can find that link on our link tree, by the way.
Yep. Check that stuff out. Check out Dave at Poppins Patches. He's a friend of the show and an avid viewer. He's super awesome. The patches are ultra high quality and he has all sorts of cool stuff, including the apparently tropical shark that is the patch that I rocked on the show.
Fish.
The tropical fish, sorry, that
the tropical fish patch
initially rocked on this show. That started all. He's got all sorts of very nostalgia-inducing patches as well. And if you use Abolish ATF, you get 15% off of your order from him. We are affiliates with Coffee Brand Coffee. There's a link somewhere for that. That's
on our link tree.
Yep. Check that one out. Buy Derica's book. It's called Think for Yourself, Thinking Workbook for Beginners.
Also,
beginner's
linked in our link tree.
Yes, you can get it on Amazon. It's like $10, and you should probably get it because you want to use it. What else do we have? I'm sure we got something else that I'm forgetting. Check out the link tree, and you will see all of the stuff.
What? We have a link tree?
Check out. Yeah.
What?
Turns out we do.
Oh my God! Who set that up?
I don't know. Some dude.
Yeah.
Definitely did it. But always make
Jack,
sure
Hawaiian Igloo Revival.
Yes.
The big ice cream sundae.
Yes, the great ice cream pancake social. We are on Rumble. We're on Odyssey.
Hawaiian
we're on a bunch of stuff and for alternative media. So if we do get kicked off because of cracking slide, you can always check us out there. You can check us out on Telegram. Also, make sure you support your single moms because you know what? They're working hard to get through medical school, man, and they need your support. $1 at a time.
Their kids, Aiden, Hayden, and Jaden, will really appreciate your support.
Yes, exactly. They're working as a CNA right now, but don't worry, they're working through medical school.
Enjoy the buffet while you're there.
Yes. Also, not the shrimp though. Never the shrimp.
No, never the shrimp.
Never the shrimp.
Oh, yeah. That's just a bad segue to things that we really don't want to talk about.
Never eat seafood at a strip club. That's my life advice for the evening.
There's a story there.
Oh God.
There's got to be a story, and if we had a Patreon, that's where we would put it. But we don't have a Patreon, so sorry.
One of these days we're gonna set one up, and then you guys can find out.
And then we'd lose all our viewers.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but anyway, on that note, you got anything else you want to throw out there?
Look both ways before crossing the street, including on a one-way road, because that's how much you should trust humanity.
That's really weak, bro.
It's what I got. I don't know. Never eat yellow snow. Watch out for snakes.
Buy level 4 plates.
Definitely buy level 4 plates, and keep in mind that frass plates will go behind your hard plate and be comfortable. So,
yeah, that's a tactical and tactical tip.
Yeah, fun tactical tip. Yes.
All right. I don't have anything else, but we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.